Hey everyone, what's up? Welcome back to another one of these breakdowns. I'm Dusty. I'll be leading you through a play today from the Packers' Week 13 victory at the New York Giants in Week 2019 here. As you can see from this image, it was a snowy game, which I like. As a Packers guy, I like that they won. But I tend to like games in the snow, even if it's not my team, just because there's something fun about it. Football in the snow is kind of awesome. So we're gonna let this play. I want to set the stage for it real quick, and then we'll dive in and we'll get into. This is gonna be kind of a fun one. I'm excited about this one. So to set the stage, this is 3rd and 10. About 4.5 minutes left in the third quarter at this point. And what the result of this play? I'll tell you the result of this play now. The result of this play is incomplete. Right? It's actually it's registered as incomplete to Davante Adams, and it looks like a wide receiver screen. Now, all that is set up. I've watched this play a bunch of times, and for the life of me, I can't figure out exactly what's going on here. I think I do. If you follow Occam's Razor, or if you're an X Files person, you follow Ozzy's Razor. The simplest explanation is usually the right one. It's a concept that the more complex, the more you have to kind of talk yourself into something, the more you have to rationalize these things and look for these different angles. That's usually not the way. It's usually the easiest explanation, or the simplest explanation is correct. So we are going to look at this two different ways. We're going to look at this as at one side, and we're going to look at it and say, okay, this is probably what it was. It's probably just a miscommunication. The other side to it is much more complicated than that, and I think much more exciting. It's probably much more exciting to me because I was thinking about it for way too long, and maybe more exciting to you as well. So this is what we're going to look at. Again, this first play here is not marked up. We're just going to kind of watch it, and then the next play is marked up, and we'll talk through that. So again, this is going to be incomplete, short right to Davante Adams. And you're going to see it looks like just kind of a miscommunication. So we're going to roll this real quick. All right, so he's calling, snap. Davante Adams doesn't come back till late. Ball falls incomplete. Right? That's exactly how it looks. So if you're looking at Occam's Razor, that to me looks like a miscommunication. Adams, or it's tough to tell. It's credit to Adams. Could have been Lazard. Lazard is in the slot on this play. One of those guys was supposed to kind of peel back and look for that screen real quick, because Rodgers just kind of just rises up and throws it, and he does not do that. Whichever guy was supposed to be does not do that. It's a simple miscommunication. The ball falls incomplete. It goes to 4th and 10. So that is the likely explanation. That's the simplest explanation. That is not the explanation I want to give you. That is not what I want to dive into. So when I was watching this, I've been just obsessively watching these two receivers. I've been watching Adams and Lazard. So the theory I'm working with, or at least the concept that I think would be really, really cool in this situation, if this isn't do what LaFleur was trying to do, is fake the wide receiver screen to one receiver and then throw it to the other. And in my version here, we've got it faking to Davante Adams, throwing to Lazard. So I've got this marked up. So we're gonna kind of talk about these markings as they pop up. So this should look familiar. It's the exact play we looked at. This is the initial look that we have. The initial look, the releases off the line, is going to be Lazard is going to take a step up the field. Adams is going to take a step back. This is what happens on the play. So again, this looks to me like kind of a wide receiver screen here. So you can see right here we've got it, and we've got Adams up the field, turning to look. But he's also getting ready now to head up the field, thus the miscommunication. And you can see Rodgers getting ready to throw here. So Adams is stopped. He is actually stopped. But right after, we're going to roll this, and you'll see he's going to cut up the field. Lazard, meanwhile, has started a hard cut up the field, and now he is coming back. This is what happens. And then these blocks, this is also what happens. We've got this the inline receiver here looking to block the safety, while I believe that's the tackle off the end of the line, is coming to block that corner. Do you know what this looks like? Do you know what this looks like to me, someone who has obsessively watched this for way, way too long and am desperately looking for something to be really, really cool and something to get excited about? Not to say there wasn't things to get excited about in this game, but something to get me really, really amped up, something really cool and something kind of unique. I believe, again, the overthought explanation, I believe that they're faking the wide receiver screen to Adams on the initial cut, and they're really throwing it to Lazard, who cuts up. Now, so what does that do? What would that do? And the Giants don't really go for it here, but what's the thought behind that would be, if a defense sees a wide receiver screen, which they're accustomed to seeing, and especially in recent weeks this season with so much of like the RPO game, with the Packers running this just real quick hitting kind of perimeter RPO game, not a whole lot of vertical stuff. It's been a whole lot of throws to the flat, a whole lot of wide receiver screens, real quick thrown. So what that conditions the defense to do, it conditions the defense to then crash that first look, that first throw. That's what's in their mind. So if Rodgers is rising up and throwing, and Adams is his initial cut is back, you could see these two receivers here. So this defenders, I'm sorry. So this defender here could be looking at a crash to make the tackle, whereas this defender here could be looking to crash a little quicker than he normally would because he wants to get around the block from Lazard. So that's what you're kind of looking at here. You're looking at a quick wide receiver screen, and when you do that, these guys have in their minds that there has been a wide receiver screen, even this guy to some extent, and they're looking to jump that so that they don't get burned by it. And so the idea behind this initial jump and then fake out, if you have these defenders crashing on this wide receiver or playing as if this wide receiver is going to be receiving the screen, that's going to kind of bring them a little bit more. It's going to bring them down and over. And then after that, you fake them out. You come back to Lazard. So you come back to Lazard. First of all, that delays the release. So he's not getting down the field, which gives these guys more of a chance to get out in front. And then you can kind of see how this looks. If this goes to Lazard, who is stepping back, who, given where the throw is supposed to be here, would be able to step back, and you can see defender here. I know it's tough in the snow and it's a little blurry, but I'm trying to show them to you. Guy here, wall. No defenders there, and then defenders here. These two of whom are blocked, and this one's going to have a hard time getting here through this wall here. So what you have, the thought process behind this, if this is what's going on, is you've got these defenders looking to crash this wide receiver, and then you give them the okey doke, and Lazard comes back. You throw it to Lazard. Lazard now has a big lane behind these blockers to run through. So you're playing off. I've said this 1,000 times in regards to offense in general, but in regards to what LaFleur is trying to do, and what a lot of guys are trying to do, is that you set up their tendencies. You throw, you run. You run the same stuff. You run the same looks. You run it enough to where then defenses start to key in on that. And then when defenses start to key in on that, when they start to recognize your tendencies, you hit them with a counter, and sometimes that counter can be huge. So if you threw, I don't have the numbers in front of me. I probably should have done that. That probably would have been smart. The Packers threw, I believe, like 8 RPO screens the previous week to the perimeter that looked a whole lot like this, and that accounted for a decent chunk of their offense. They didn't really go anywhere, but they threw them. And so if you're throwing those, and then this defense here is saying, hey, we just saw they've been throwing these a bunch. They threw 8 or 9 of these last week. They've been throwing them in weeks prior to that as well. I have to make sure we don't get burned on this. You're jumping that, and then as they're jumping that, you hit them with the blocks. You cut back with the slot guy, and then he cuts up. Again, this is all probably insanity. I assume. I don't know. That the simplest explanation is that this was simply a miscommunication. That one of these guys was supposed to cut back. Maybe Lazard was supposed to cut back. Maybe Adams was supposed to cut back and stay back. However, I actually do believe this in my heart of hearts, guys. I really believe this, that this motion here, this back up, back, that this was intentional, and it was intentional to try to play on these tendencies they've set up to get the Giants defense leaning and then be able to hit Lazard behind these blocks. So that's my play for you. A little different than some of the ones I've done recently, where it's a bit more of a breakdown. This is kind of more of a theory, and again, this play didn't work. This ball fell incomplete, but I think it shows, if this is what I believe it is, I think this shows some of the thought that LaFleur is kind of putting into this offense, and how he's looking to hit teams with a counter when they start keying in on tendencies. So I hope you enjoy this one. Again, a little different. I certainly have had a ton of fun. It's been a really fun thought experiment for me all day. I've been watching this a ton of times. So I have a lot of fun thinking about it, a lot of fun talking about it. Let me know if you have any thoughts, any comments. I guess leave those in the comments. I'm new to video things, so I guess leave those in the comments, and maybe I'll get to them, maybe not. You can also find me on Twitter at Dusty Evely, where I do a whole bunch of stuff, and everything I write you can find up on there as well. So if you have any questions, comments, conspiracy theories, please by all means hit me up, and I'll talk to you next time.